Something that I've really grown to love over the time that I've spent falling into the rabbit hole of this game, and something that I've really grown to appreciate, is who you are as an individual in the world of Azeroth, and arguably, more importantly, who you are not. The way I see it, that Classic WoW's main character, I guess the main protagonist in this sense, is not you. It's not someone that you see running along the road. It's the world itself. The story really isn't about you. Yes, you are involved in certain parts of it, but you just serve as a vessel to enjoy the experience. I mean, you essentially start off a nobody, a hapless adventurer, off to see what you can make of the world, and, well, you aren't the hero, you're not the savior of Azeroth yet, you're not destroyer of planets and worlds and Giga Chad of universes, you're just little old you. When you start off, you look no different to many of the other NPCs that are scattered throughout the world. There are no shiny weapons, there are no crazy mounts, massive shoulders, it's just you and your rags. It feels like no one knows who you are, and truthfully, it kind of feels like no one really wants to even know who you are or get to know you very, very early on. When you speak to NPCs, you aren't greeted with warm welcomes or praise, or you're not held in high regard without some form of trial and trust being earned first. This could be little initiations as simple as dealing with local villagers and their small town issues, to providing support for local militia groups in the absence of some of their ranks. Everything in this game feels earned. Now, outside of your class offering you different abilities later in the game, everyone seems to look very much alike in the beginning. It's a fairly even stead. Differences in armor, weapons, mounts, they only really come in much later in the game because, again, everything is earned. The term earning in World of Warcraft Classic is an extremely important term, as I really do feel that WoW Classic has ultimately built its whole world and the progression system around that very term. Initially, as we mentioned, you're earning the trust of locals in each town you visit, and they're offering you small tasks and small rewards, and then gradually, as they trust you more, they give you more important tasks with more fleshed out rewards. It's almost as if, as the relationship grows, they trust you a lot more as an individual, and that really gives a decent amount of flesh to the world and a bit of tangibility to what you're doing. Not to mention, you're also earning the trust through various different factions and cities, and really strengthening that bond through hardships out in the open world. When you take into account the people that pass you on an everyday basis who are also playing the game as well, you will earn the trust of many of those that are venturing alongside you, and knowing that many of the challenges in the game you simply can't face alone. So you do require that element of cooperation. In fact, meeting and playing with other people in this game in the most random capacity has probably been some of my more fond memories, when you're just passing each other on the beaten path and randomly buffing each other as you're going about your day. It's just incredible. Ultimately, each one of these factors, it doesn't matter how you spin it, to me, earns you an experience that you can't replicate in many other games. There are ultimately a lot of factors that bring people back to vanilla, or I guess allow people to never leave, and a lot of that is world building, old school graphics, sense of community, which you just don't get in retail or many other capacities of video games. But I think personally for me, one major standout point that WoW Classic seems to nail is the sense of individual progression throughout the game. Never in a million years did I think I would genuinely feel a sense of euphoric bliss when achieving something as simple as a level up, a new ability, a new weapon, a piece of armor. These feelings for such trivial things are only apparent because you've had to earn it. Now, Blizzard back in the day, I'm not talking so much now, really understood the concept of high points to low points in an MMO, and how the absence and degradation of one side typically affects the other. They knew that if a player had a hard time or struggles through a quest or an area, it doesn't necessarily mean that part of the game should be removed or tweaked. And that's not forgetting to say that likewise, a good experience doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be exhausted or become a normal routine. You see, for me, a key ingredient as to what makes Classic WoW so endearing is the sheer inconvenience of the game. This game isn't meant to be beaten within a day, 2 days, a week, a month. Inconvenience is very important to cultivating this type of game. It teaches players to learn from their mistakes, and it breeds a mentality to want to best the challenge that once bested them, something that games like Dark Souls have taken through generations of other games that have been developed before them and built that into their core philosophy, and that's why it works so well. Something that I've heard time and time again when making these YouTube videos and playing this game is that people often state that the game starts at max level or it gets good at end game, and for Classic WoW, honestly, in my opinion, that could not be further from the truth. You see, World of Warcraft Classic, to me, the journey and the experience begins right at the very beginning. I would say personally, I'm actually terrified of endgame. I really don't want to get to 60 and have this impending sense of like, okay, well, what am I striving for now? And then if that eventually snowballs into I'm kind of losing interest, and then into I'm bored, I'm not going to play this anymore. I really, really enjoy the sense of progression and ticking things off along the way. I mean, when we talk about the journey, outside of level and gear progression, some of the most rewarding content I've experienced so far has actually been in the form of just taking my time to read quest text or some of the in-game items. For example, this is going to sound ridiculous, but it was actually quite a sad moment when I entered a new town and I was speaking to a guard about this NPC called Smiling Jim, who had set up an inn for a while and it was burned to the ground and his whole family was killed in the process. And I feel like you spend all of this time playing this kind of cartoonish game and then you sit back and like read a storyline like that and you're like, wow, okay, that's incredibly sad. I would of course argue that the lore in World of Warcraft is not best served in its video game format, but that doesn't stop me from wanting to get immersed and try and understand slightly what's going on. In fact, I actually played the first 10 hours of WoW Classic without any add-ons whatsoever, with no questy. I was just kind of running in circles for hours, which was a bit of a pain, but the sense of achievement that I got when I figured it out was just immense. It was just, yeah, not something you can replicate with all of the add-ons and everything we have today. I guess my only real negative emotion that I have when I play this game is that, like many other experiences in life, it has to end at some point. And whilst that sounds incredibly morbid to say, there is a genuine reason and thought behind it, because I'm fully aware that many people state that Wrath of the Lich King was the last true Classic expansion. And I know that's a way off in the future, but I'm just worried what's coming, what happens to Classic, because I'm pretty sure the previous Classic is now in Cataclysm, and I would argue that the population there is a damn sight difference to what we're experiencing now in Anniversary. And without sounding weird, you guys probably feel the same, probably more so than me, but this has almost become my home now. I feel at home when I'm listening to the background sound now. It calms me down. It relaxes me. I enjoy being in this world. I don't enjoy being in the fast-paced universe, running back and forward in retail, doing stuff that really doesn't matter. I don't matter. Do you know what I mean? I don't want that experience to end, but I fully understand that I'm probably going to have to let it go. However, I have always been a believer of just living in the now and enjoying these fleeting moments and experiences to their full whilst you can. So I'll do my best to park my reservations for, well, future events. All in all, though, I am incredibly glad that I've discovered this game all of these years on, and I'm kicking myself that I haven't done it sooner. So I am dead excited to continue sharing my journey here on YouTube with you guys. Thank you so much to all of you that have watched up until this point, not just this video, but the videos previous. The support recently has been massive, and I really can't thank you enough. For all of you that are new to this channel, please do consider leaving a like and subscribing for more World of Warcraft Classic content, and I'll see you guys in the next one.